This is a 102.7 FM Toowoomba original podcast.
Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. And the talk is never small, it's always big. And today we have a big personality in Toowoomba because everywhere I go, every boom gate lifts up at Grand Central, there is the name Jacqui Walker. So welcome, Jacqui Walker.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's an honour and a privilege to be here today.
Well, you are like the celebrity, and I don't think you're called real estate agents anymore, are you? You're licensed real estate professionals.
That's it. Licensed real estate professionals. Everything we do is, of course, very professional.
So tell me about how you became a real estate agent, because you grew up, actually, we'll do it in as a progression, because you grew up in a place called Warragul. So what's Warragul famous for?
Warragul is a farming town. It's such a pretty little town. Megan, I've never been anywhere in all the world that has this gorgeous square of shops in the middle, that are road all around the square of shops, and then another big square of shops. It is so pretty and quaint. Warragul is in Gippsland, Victoria.
Right.
And it's got a lot of farming around it, and it's an extremely pretty little town. I grew up there. I met my husband there. And then after we were married about 18 months, we relocated very unexpectedly to me to Queensland and Toowoomba at that, and Kingsthorpe in the earlier days. Fast forward all these 40 odd plus years, we're here in Toowoomba.
What were your mum and dad doing in Warragul?
My dad was early in the piece, a bus driver. He was a really lovely man, a jovial, kind man. Everybody knew Jim Sherwood. And, oh, you're Jim Sherwood's daughter. And then he went on to become a mail contractor, where he delivered everybody's mail into all the farming areas around the outskirts of Warragul itself, right up until he retired. Mum, well, she was always a beautiful stay-at-home mum and a very darling woman. So very blessed to have a very loving family.
Who else was in the Sherwood family?
In the Sherwood family, I had 4 siblings, all way older than me. I have a sister who's almost 81 to my 64. So I was the baby of the family and very loved and adored by all my older siblings. I had 3 older sisters and a darling brother. And we're still all very close today, and that's a great thing to be. So grew up in a very loving home.
Right. Were the other 4, that's right, there's 5 altogether, were the other 4 all together and then there was a big gap and then you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've got a sister almost 18 years older than me who was engaged to be married when Mum found out she was pregnant, and oh my goodness me, quite a bit of a shock, and being born to older parents, but very loved indeed, which was great. And then so I had 3 older sisters and then a brother only 6 years older than me. And we, as I said, all still very close today.
Yeah. And what was your sense of kind of growing up in that small town? Because I think Warragul's only got now about 20,000 people in it.
Yeah, so it's still quite a small place, but growing all the time. I believe they've just opened up a Spotlight and a Harvey Norman, so they're getting on the map there. It was a lovely community. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody was friendly, and because my dad was extremely well known in the community, as I mentioned before, oh, you're Jim Sherwood's daughter and that type of thing, and it was always a positive experience, and I had a great childhood. Lots and lots of friends. So I only just recently went back this year to a very dear friend's funeral down there, and it was lovely to go and see everybody again and to visit the town, which hasn't changed from that gorgeous square of shops that I was talking about. Yeah, really pretty place. Well worth a visit one day if you're ever down in Victoria in Gippsland.
What was the young Jacqui Sherwood? What did she want to do?
Well, if you asked me when I was young, Jacqui, what are you going to be when you grow up? All I ever said is a mother. I want to be a mother. It's all I ever wanted to be, was a mother. And of course, that is my greatest role in life. And of course, now grandmother is extra special. Still love that role above everything else I do in life. And of course, having a wonderful husband for 47 years, or almost 47 years, has been a big blessing throughout my life.
Tell me about Brian. How did you meet? Did you go to school together?
No, look, we didn't. My dad actually delivered his mail. So he watched Brian sort of grow up, I suppose, delivering his mail and chat to him and give him the mail and things like that. I met Brian when I was 15. He happened to knock on a door of some a friend's house that I was visiting. And he actually was involved in a church down there, and he was a youth leader in that particular church. And he knocked on the door because he knew there was teenagers there, and he thought they might like to go to a program they were running. And he knocked on the door, and I was sitting on the chair, and I thought, oh, he's nice. So I smiled at him and he said he just instantly thought, you're going to marry that girl. I instantly thought that. From there, I went along to the church activity he invited us to. And yeah, it was really, really lovely. And of course, we connected straight away. Started going out when I was 16. We got engaged when I was 17. Got married when I was 17 and a half. And then we had our first darling daughter when I was almost 19.
Oh, yeah.
So it was all very, very exciting. And then went on for a gorgeous second daughter and then a fabulous son.
Wow. There's so much there, Jacqui. And I won't say that I stalked your Facebook page, but I stalked your Facebook page, and you could see the love between you and Brian, still holding hands across the table. So what do you think? I know you talk about being best friends with your partner. What do you think's the glue for a 46-year-old marriage?
I think it's being kind to each other and listening to each other, making sure to keep the romance alive. We go out for lovely dinners. We always celebrate every wedding anniversary in style. We'll go away, we spoil each other. Our birthdays are special. We go away for our birthdays and celebrate them as well. And when we're tired and we're cranky with each other, which happens from time to time, we just try to remember to be a little bit kind and not say too many things that we shouldn't say. And just supporting each other and remembering that we're on the same team, that we're playing for the same team, we're playing for the same goals. I think too often you can forget that and then sort of be challenging each other a bit too often. You're not there to, be that tackle. You're there to get the goal and the win together, and just to love each other through it all and keep the romance alive is really important.
So clearly you get on very well as friends. You really enjoy each other's company. Would you say that you're similar sort of people?
No, we're totally different. Brian is very different to me, but he is glue. He is a rock. He is strong. He is always dependable. He has always put myself and our children first in every situation. He's never been selfish or sought his own way. We have a very strong relationship with God, and that's very important to our marriage as well. And so we pray together a lot. That is all the time. And that is really important. And yeah, I think just having that real strong base and faith in our marriage has been really, really good.
I wanted to ask you about your faith, Jacqui, because it is obviously a very big part of your life. Was Brian working in a paid capacity when he came to the house? No, that was a volunteer
He
thing.
was just a volunteer. He was a youth leader. He was a farmer. He milked dairy. He was on a dairy farm and he milked the cows. I was brought up in a church, but a different church to the one that Brian was involved in. I was brought up in more of traditional Churches of Christ. He was sort of in the new up and coming Pentecostal church, which my family thought of, it's a bit different. But, it was all very good. Everybody loved Brian. And when he asked Dad if he could marry me, my dad looked at him deep in his eyes and he says, Bryony boy, she's very young, but I know you will look after her. I know you will. I just thought, wow, Dad had such great insight. And I was always thankful that I did get married young because it worked for us. We grew up together. Brian's actually 4 years older than me, which if you look at it today, it's something, oh my goodness, that's quite a bit. But it was never, ever much, sort of thing. It's never been an issue or anything like that. But I'm so glad we did get married young because my dad passed away suddenly when he was only 61, and we'd been married maybe 2 years or just under that when he passed away. And I thought, I'm so thankful he got to walk me up the aisle. And I was very thankful about that.
And that your husband knew your father as well. That's a deal about right.
And my dad loved Brian. He always called him Bryony boy.
What was that feeling like? Were you conscious of the fact that your parents were older parents?
Yes, I was. And it was quite funny. I was having the older sister who was who was engaged. Mum found out she was pregnant. And when I was about 7 at school, a young girl came up to me and said, "You know that your sister's really your mother." And I thought, "Oh, I don't think that's right." So I went home and I said, "Mum, are you really my mum or is Pat my mum?" And she said, "Oh, Jacqui, for goodness sake, of course I'm your mother." And I, well, so and so said that Pat was my mother. She said, "Oh, busybodies, don't listen to them." And anyway, but I still had to go and ask my sister. And I used to go to her place a lot because she then had children that were closer in age to me. I was an auntie when I was 4 and very close to her children, being that close in age, more so than the siblings. And I said to her, "Are you really my mum?" And she said to me, "Jacqui, if I was your mum, you wouldn't be living with mum. You'd be living with me." She said, "No, I'm your sister." And I thought, oh, there you go, good. But having older parents was always a good thing for me. I mean, I was spoilt rotten, never had a smack in my life, got everything I ever wanted. If Jacqui wanted it, Jacqui got it, sort of thing. Spoilt and very loved.
Well, I don't think you can love a kid too much, can you? You just cannot love a child too much. Just talking back again about Brian, like you have built this really successful career as a really hardworking, independent businesswoman, which I love. Do you feel that part of that, I suppose it's a bit of a loaded question, but he has always been there. He will always, do you go off on crazy schemes? I'm going to become a real estate agent. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And does he go, "Oh, okay, love, have a go. See how you go"?
Look, he's always been such a wonderful, wonderful support because becoming a real estate agent was the last role. I'll always be a real estate agent now. For my career, I won't do anything else. Throughout all the schemes that we've done to get to the point where we are now, he has always been just the most wonderful, wonderful support. So he makes me my coffee, he rubs my feet. I'll get home at night and he'll straight away make the coffee because I love my coffee. And he rubs my feet and he's just so kind and he's always just there and, "How's your day been and what have you done?" And wants to hear about it all. And yeah, so all throughout my life, it's been an adventure of going from one career to another. And everything that I've done, though, has always just led me to the next role. And every skill that I learnt in the last role set me up for the next role. And I think that that's been a really great thing throughout life.
I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 102.7 FM. You've tuned into Big Little Small Talk, and we're talking to Jacqui Walker, celebrity real estate agent, I call her. So let's talk about that progression then. You came up when you were in Kingsthorpe. So what did you do when were you farming up here?
Yeah, well, when we first moved up here it would have been in the June of 1980, when we first moved up here. But we actually didn't move to Kingsthorpe. We actually moved to a little town called Upper Yarraman, which was still in the Rosalie Shire back then. And we grew peanuts and corn. So we were dairy farmers. Well, Brian was a dairy farmer. I became a dairy farmer's wife when I married him. And I actually thought that's what I'd be doing for the rest of my life. I didn't really foresee anything other than that. So my first job, I worked in a dry cleaners. I hated school, Megan. I hated school. I was not studious. I loved all the kids and I drove the teachers crazy. I think they were glad when I left. But Dad said, "Jacqui, you can't leave school unless you got a job." And I said, "Well, I want to leave. I just don't want to be there." So he walked me out at the top of that little square of shops and took me into the first shop, which happened to be a dry cleaners. And he said, "Hey, you know my daughter, Jacqui." "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, she doesn't really like school and she wants to leave. You got a job for her." And he said, you know what? I actually do. And so that was the first shop we walked into. I got the job as the dry cleaner. He taught me everything there was to know about cleaning clothes properly and steaming them and everything else. And also, I did the sales at the front counter. It was really, really good. So that was my first job. I had to leave that when I got married because I wasn't old enough to drive a car, and Brian couldn't drive me to work because he was milking cows at that particular time. So not old enough to drive a car, but old enough to get married, apparently. So there you go. And so that was my first job. So then I was the farmer's wife, which I loved. I learned to drive the tractor. I crashed a tractor. One day, Brian said to me, would you go up and get the cows? And this is before we were married. It's to bring them down for milking. I said, yeah. He said, well, take the tractor. So he said, when you get to the top of the hill, can you shut the hill gate? And I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. So off I go on the tractor, proud as punch, go round up all these 300 odd cows that we had to milk. They're all walking down the laneway, and I thought, oh, I could shut that hill gate. So I go up the top of the hill and on the tractor, and I hop off the tractor and I shut the gate and I turned around. There's no tractor. Where's the tractor? There it goes, down the hill, through 3 brand new gates and through 3 brand new fences, I should say, that Brian did not long put up, and then jumped and landed crash bang into the middle of the creek, lodged there. Now, this was actually a tractor they'd only had for 1 month. And I thought, oh my goodness me. And we weren't even married at that stage. I'm yelling at the top of the hill, Brian. And he could hear me and he thought, oh, she's probably seen a snake or something. He comes on the motorbike and he says, what's the matter? And I said, I think I've lost the tractor. He looked around. He said, oh, oh.
So was it in the creek, in
It
the
was,
water?
and it jumped
In the
into
water.
creek, yeah. And it lodged itself square bang into the creek. It was quite hilarious, but also a bit daunting. And of course, his father happened to say, well, I suppose you have to marry her now so she can pay for the tractor. So we stayed on the farm for 18 months or so after we were married. How we managed to come up here was we came in the middle of winter for a holiday to see my sister, who was living at Upper Yarraman, who was growing peanuts and corn. Well, Brian fell in love with the warm weather in June instead of up to your knees in mud, getting cows up and freezing cold and chilblains and literally freezing. And here was summer days in T-shirts and washing, drying in an hour and crops up above your head. And he just thought, wow, look how lush this is. I want to change careers. I don't want to be dairy farming. I want to be crop farming. And so he said he'd really like to move up here. I'm thinking, really? I don't want to leave my mum and dad. I want to stay where I am, sort of thing. Anyway, we came back and he sort of mulled it over for a good 12 months, and things weren't always easy with his own father on the farm, as it can be, family situations. And he got to the point where he thought, you know what, I really want to do this. And so my parents, being really supportive, said, well, if you move up there, we'll move too. Which we thought, okay, well, that'd be good. But then Dad unexpectedly did pass away, and very suddenly, which was very difficult. But we still then made the transition up here. Mum decided not to move at that particular point, but she used to come up for 6 months of the year in the winter and then go back down there for the summer. That suited what she did. So we got to have half and half with precious Mum. So that was really, really good.
So you were farming, and then somewhere along the line, you had a shop in Village Fair. How did that happen?
Okay, well then, very briefly, we did the cropping. So the first year was a bumper crop, fantastic. The second year we hit a flood. The third year we hit a drought. The fourth year we hit a drought, and Brian said, that's it, not doing that thing anymore. He went back farming down in Victoria. Then the day we unpacked the truck, he realised why he left in the first place. But we stayed there for 2 years, and he's decided, I want to go back to Queensland. So that we did, but we have never farmed since then. We came back to Queensland and we had a little house at Kingsthorpe next to the Kingsthorpe State School, and we had that really beautiful, and I did daycare. And I was a daycare mum under the Cath Dixon banner. and all the kids from around Kingsthorpe used to come and I used to look after them. Supposed to only have 4 at a time, but because I was the only daycare mum provider at that particular time, Cap Dixon used to say, you can have more, you can cope with them. And I had a whole tribe of kids that loved coming and I loved having them. So we did that. And then we were going to a wedding and we had 3 weddings in a row. We thought, gee, it's hard to find a good shop to just buy great wedding gifts. So Brian and I came up with this idea that we'll open a gift shop called Perfect Gifts. And we got what we thought were perfect gifts for perfect occasions. And we had that for 6 years and it went really, really well. We loved it in Village Fair and it was a great time of our lives. And then I happened to get quite sick. I was sick for 3 years, which I got over. I won't go into that now, but I did get very sick for some time. Grand Central had opened up at that time. Also, the pokies came and people were spending less on gifts and stuff. So we thought, you know what, we've done that for 6 years. We'll give that up. So we left and then I took a bit of time to get over having a chronic illness. And after I did get over that through surgery and whatnot, I then went and worked at Bras and Things. And I looked after all the stores in Bras and Things. The day I started at Bras and Things, there was 136 stores across Australia, and the Toowoomba, 2 Toowoomba ones, Grand Central and Clifford Gardens, were the lowest ranking stores in Australia. I thought, oh my goodness, what have I got? But after managing the Grand Central one for 2 months, we were number 2 in Australia and then went to number 1 throughout the whole time I was there.
Do you think, Jacqui, there's any sort of sliding doors moment? You know, if your dad had walked into the first shop, which might have been a butcher shop, you might not have got so good on the sales and the sort of the people skills that you did at the dry cleaners, and that has stood you in really good stead.
I think that I've just been lucky that I think I was born a salesperson. I didn't realise that until I started winning lots of different awards in sales and be able to create sales. And I think it all started even when I was very little. I would stand out the front when I was only 4 of our house and we lived next door to a shop and everybody would walk past and say, hello, I'm Jacqui. Do you want to come in and have a cup of coffee? And I'd say that to everyone that walked past. And occasionally some people would say, I'd love that. Mum would be cleaning away and I'd say, yeah, Mum, this lady wants a cup of coffee. And she'd be, oh, who's Jacqui in the house sort of thing. And I just think that, that selling skill or, people personality seemed to always be there. And so it just seemed to sort of snowball from there. And so from Bras and Things, then our daughter was getting married, we were that excited she was getting married, and we decided at that point to open a wedding shop.
Oh, yes, of course. You can't find a wedding gift, open a wedding gift shop, can't find something. Your daughter's getting married.
So we opened a Touch of Romance Bridal and Formal, and we had that a very successful bridal shop for 12 years. And then I sold them in 2012 and then went into real estate.
How did you make that transition though? Like how did you?
The bridal well, we loved the bridal. It was selling a bride her dream gown. Now, this is going to be the most expensive dress that she's likely to ever buy unless she's a movie star. And she's been dreaming of being this bride since she was a little girl. Most girls have dreamed that. So it's a fairy tale come true. And it was such a privilege and a pleasure to listen to how they got engaged and help them find the perfect dress and just ooze that excitement with them and be excited about their wedding day. And so we made a lot of dreams come true with the beautiful wedding gowns. And we did that for 12 years and opened one in Stones Corner in Brisbane and Maroochydore. And then it was a family affair, which was really good. Our son did a lot of the ordering and back end work and advertising. Our other daughter, she worked in the Brisbane and Maroochydore one. But then come 2012 and things were changing with a lot of internet buying and different things like that we decided we'd sell them. So we did do that and we left the bridal industry. And the wonderful, iconic Ian Knight from Remax, he said to me, Jacqui, what are you going to do now you've sold the bridal shops? And I said, well, he said, I tell you what, you go get your license, you come and work for me. So I went home and I said to Brian, I was talking to Ed, he said, oh, real estate, he said, that's a lot of work. I said, yeah, but I think it'll be exciting. So I shadowed Ian for a couple of weeks and fell in love with real estate.
What did you fall in love with?
Well, I fell in love with helping people find their dream and helping people sell their home so they could move up in the world, downsize, or whatever it may be. I love the fact that I don't have to buy the house first to sell it. So I can just go to town and sell it. And I really enjoyed that part of things and loved working underneath Ian for that time. He taught me so much. He was a great man. And
Tell me some of the things that you learnt in those early days. What's the secret to being a good real estate agent?
it's listening to people. Not always is it a happy time for people to sell. It's a very emotional time. Sometimes people sell because they're getting divorced and they need a lot of love and care and handholding. You need to be a counsellor. You need to be able to listen and to understand the emotion that they're going through. Also, it could be that they've just lost their husband of 40, 50 years, that they've lived in this house and raised their family, and it's just too big and they have to move on. And even though they want to sell, you've got to understand that when the sale happens, it's bittersweet. So, yes, you can be excited for them and give them a lovely gift and that, but you also need to understand that's hard for them to shut that door for the final time. So having that care factor is really, really important and listening to where they're at and to why they're selling. And then occasionally you get people that have made it and we're getting this huge extra money. We're going to upsize into this unbelievable home, and that's exciting to help them with that as well. It's a real privilege to help people with all their real estate needs.
It's just so lovely to hear you talk about that, because I'd never thought about, what are some of the emotions? And I think even on your website, you have what are some of the emotions that you might feel selling your house? How do you liken brides and real estate? Why is it? What's the similarities?
Well, it is very similar because, as I mentioned before, they're both very big purchases. A wedding gown will often be the bride's most expensive dress she'll ever buy in her life. A house is the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy in your life. There's nothing that will cost more than your home mainly. So their values are the same and the emotion is the same. So it's not always easy just to make a quick decision. Oh yes, yes, I'll buy that now, sort of thing. They need to think about it, they need to feel it. And it's the same with a girl buying her dream gown. She needs to feel it. If she puts on this amazing gown and cries, that's the one. If you walk in to a home and you go, I can live here, and you can see yourself living here, that's the one. So it's the same emotion. So I see that as being very similar.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in to Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara Sullivan, and we're talking to Jacqui Walker. What's different about being a real estate agent now, Jacqui, to say even 10 years ago?
Well, that's a really good question. There's not really anything that is a lot different. It's still the same. The prices we've just seen prices double and double. When I first started, a brand new unit might be about $249,000. Today in Crown Street, they're selling for $750,000. That's huge difference. Do you know what I mean? In the market has increased. And so that's probably the biggest difference. Properties are selling very quickly. We're in a real boom at the moment, and literally every week we're seeing a price hike. Even in the last 2 months, I can see things have jumped $50,000, which is quite incredible. People are still the same. Everybody needs a home to live in, and people want to still buy that great Australian dream.
How do people treat you? They treat you well, or do they ring you up at all hours of the day and night and weekend and whatever?
Yeah, look, people do treat me well. I actually really love people. People are all that is valuable in this world, and I like to value people and treat people like they matter because they do. Nothing is more important, not your car, not your home, not anything. People is what is valuable today. And so, yes, I do often get after hours phone calls, but to me, My phone's always in my hand or close by. Care about that. I'd rather talk to you now while you're available than have a whole lot of calls to return in the morning. So to me, I've got this wonderful support in Brian. If somebody rings me at night, I definitely do take it and talk to them, and however I can help, I always love to.
It's incredible. What about, you say that houses are selling so quickly and phenomenally. Have you ever sold a house twice?
Yes, I have. I have sold some properties 4 and 5 times, which is quite phenomenal. And I really don't take that for granted. That is a real honour that the buyer enjoyed the experience, that they asked me to come and sell it for them. And then that buyer who bought it again enjoyed the experience and got me back to sell it again. I have wonderful developers that use me again and again, and I really do value them very, very much.
How do you feel about things like, the government changing so that you can buy something on a 5%? Do you think that's risky or?
No, look, I do think it's good for the young people to get in. The scheme is really helpful, and not having to pay the stamp duty is a big, big saving. I do get concerned for the young people with the amount that they have to pay now for properties. Like, I mean, you know, uh, early in my very first home, fully on 3 acres, a brand spanking new home is $26,000. Now, $26,000 isn't even enough for a deposit on a home. And so for young people, I think they need all the help they can get to get in to buy a property. So I think that that's a really good thing.
It's despairing, isn't it? So your own home, like, do you get caught up in the every place you go into, you go, oh, I should buy this. This would be great. This would be great. And you go home and say to Brian, and Brian just rolls his eyes, or?
Oh, yes, yes, we've been through that. I'd be looking at, oh, gee, I should buy that one. Oh, I'd like to live in that one. We've recently did sell our home and build a beautiful new home. So now that's where I'm going to stay forever and a day. I plan to, hopefully. It's a beautiful home. Prior to that, I'd be saying to Brian, oh, it's got a block of land. No, I don't want to live there. And then I'd say, oh, I found this really great house. One of the houses that I did find, I said to him, I think you'll like it. And he went to it and he said, yes, I would like that one. And that was over in Darling Heights because he was a farmer. He wanted the view. He had the view across the park. And of course, he loved that one. So we did buy that one off a client, which was really good.
Jacqui, as you've sort of got more and more well known, how have you kept your feet on the ground, I guess, as more and more people want a piece of you?
I think it's just remembering again, just that people are valuable and never lose sight of that. And when everybody matters. No matter who you are, you matter. You are valuable and you are loved, you are seen. And I think that helps me to be there for people because I understand that. I don't see anything else as valuable other than people.
Well, I think you do value something else. You value how you look, don't you? Because you're always really well dressed and really well made up. Has that evolved, or have you always been pretty meticulous with
I've
your
probably
look?
always been like that. I can remember 7 years old getting high heels and putting them on, and I'd go down to my sister's house and they'd put makeup on me and put my hair all up, and I've always loved being dressed up. I mean, I've worn high heel shoes since I think I've always wore high heel shoes. Sometimes people say to me, "How do you walk in those things?" I'll say, "Oh, well, I've just walked in them forever. I'm just used to it now. It's just what I do."
And they look good, I always say. That's
I'm
the thing.
short. I'm very short. So the higher I can get, the better I feel. And a lot of times you take your shoes off when you're showing a house, and people say, "Oh, you're quite short." And I think, yeah, well, that's why I wear 6-inch heels to try and give myself a little bit of height.
Yeah. And I noticed, Jacqui, too, that you've sort of, and I hope you don't mind me asking you about this, about, what's your relationship with your body like?
Well, to be honest, it's one I've always struggled with as far as I've never been a thin person. I've always sort of had that bit of extra weight and things like that. And I've been anything from a size 22 down to, like currently a 10. I've been around that now for quite a few years and maintaining that. But there's been times in my life where I've been very overweight, actually. And it's not that we'd ever eat junk food. I like to cook, and I like to cook with butter and cream and rich food. And of course, then I would eat it. These days, I don't do that so much now. And I try to watch what I eat because health-wise, I feel better for it. I feel more energized and I feel like I'm not so sluggish and I could do more. So
Jacqui with more energy. Now, that's a scary thought.
I do enjoy being lighter at the moment. I've still got quite a bit that I'd like to get rid of, these wobbly bits. I don't seem to want to.
Do you get rid of the size 22 clothes?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I don't want them in clothes. I tell you what, I've got far too many clothes and would have no room. If it doesn't fit me and I don't wear it, it's gone.
Yeah, because as I say, you always look beautifully dressed. Are you addicted to the renovation shows?
No, no, I'm not actually. I am addicted to shopping. I'm a bit of a shopper, especially when it comes to fashion. I do shop more than I should, and I do own far too much fashion that I shouldn't really have. But that's my addiction, is shopping.
When you built this house, did you have the big walk-in robe?
I've got a room that's 4x4 that's just mine, all my clothes.
And does Brian help with the selling?
No, look, he's just a great back support. He's always there, always listens. And as I said, that fantastic feet rubber and coffee maker, and comes to every event, all the balls, and takes me to seminars. And sometimes I have to speak at seminars. I've been fortunate enough for 3 years in a row to win through the REIQ Regional Sales Real Estate Person of the Year. That goes from Cairns all the way down. I've won that for 3 years in a row. So he will always take me to these awards, and often I have to speak at events and things like that and encourage younger people.
How does he feel about going to the balls? Does he say, "Oh, I don't want to go," or is he there and he's talking to everyone? Yeah, right. He's
Tucked,
loves it.
looking
Yeah,
pants.
he does.
He loves it. We get up and we dance, and he'll hug me and tell me I'm so proud of you when I win all the different awards.
Isn't that great?
Wonderful support.
Yes. My husband, when I come home in the evening, says, "How many compliments do you get today?" And I said, "Nothing, no one." He goes, "That's not true. You're lying. You're lying." And I don't know Brian, but I think he sounds like he'd be the type of guy who'd say something like that to you, Jacqui, as a support. You talked about your 3 kids. Tell me, you love them, obviously, and the grandchildren. How many grandchildren have you got?
We have got 7 of the most stunning, spectacular grandchildren ever. Love them, every single one of them. They range from 20 down to 9, and there is 4 boys and 3 girls, and they're all just so, so beautiful.
Are we likely to even it up, girls and boys?
Look, I don't think we've got any more grandchildren coming. I don't think so.
You mentioned earlier about your deep faith, and I don't think I'm revealing anything. One of your kids is gay. Is that a rub with your faith or not?
No, look, it was early in the beginning. It was a bit of a shock because we were the Walkers. The Walkers involved heavily in the church circles. Christianity is the core of our faith. And of course, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. Our precious, precious son, who we just love and adore, he is gay, and he's our only son. And I'm so proud of Brian and the way he is a great father to him. You know, it's not an easy thing for your only son to come out and say, "Look, I'm attracted to the same sex, and it's just the way it is," you know. And we had to really explore how this was and what this meant to us. And so, as we always did, we consulted God. We prayed, we asked for wisdom. And he just kept whispering to us, "Jacqui and Brian, love David unconditionally. Love him unconditionally." And so we learnt everything there was to learn about being homosexual. We learnt about that. We looked into it very deeply. And we come to the conclusion that David's okay. Jesus loves him very, very much just the way he is. And he's a great human. He's a beautiful human being that loves God very, very much. And he loves people. He's very kind. He's very generous. And he's a wonderful, wonderful citizen. But it was a huge thing for our family. Didn't we have struggled with this throughout the years? But I think that we are slowly getting better. Brian and I are a huge support to David, and he knows that and he appreciates that very much. Our faith has grown even stronger because of David. I'm thankful that I've actually got a gay son because it's helped me become a better person. It's helped me understand other people and other walks people walk through. I think all too often, Megan, we can all become very judgmental of other people. Oh, look at them. And we can tend to put people down a lot and have an opinion, especially within church circles as well, is, well, different people would say, oh, you can't possibly be a Christian and be gay. Well, that's not true at all. That'd be like saying, well, you can't possibly be overweight and be a Christian, or you can't possibly be divorced and be a Christian. Yes, you can. Life is life. Life is life, and Jesus loves us very much, just the way we are. I have a very soft spot for the gay community, and I love them very much. If I can ever get a message out to them that they are so loved and valuable, even though the message that they've been sent, especially from the churches, may not be that, they certainly are very loved and valuable. So I am thankful, actually, even though it's been a journey and a half, a long journey and a hard journey, I'm very thankful to have a gay son because it's made me a better person.
You're a wise woman, Jacqui Walker. You really are. Jacqui, if I was to ask you in 3 words, I am, ... what are they? That's
I'm
your
pa-
3 words. She's passionate.
I'm passionate, I am loving, and I care.
I love it. Passionate, loving, and caring. It's great. What about uh, if I was to ask you if there was one thing, a legal thing that you could do and you wouldn't get caught, what would that be?
Well, I have a red Mustang and I love to take the roof off, and I would just love to find a big, long stretch of road. My Mustang apparently can go up to 270 kilometres an hour. Not that I'd ever try it. I would love to go really, 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 really fast, as long as it was safe and no one else was on the road. I'd love to do that. But of course, I wouldn't go too fast. But if I could and get away with it, I would love to have a go.
I love that. Do you think about that girl back in Warragul and think about you driving the contrast of sort of driving a red Mustang? Did you ever think that that was, or did you always just think there was great things going to happen for you?
Look, life has just been one journey after another and incredible. I can remember when I was quite young, I had a dream that I was in a sports car with the roof off. And I always thought one day I'm going to drive a sports car with the roof off. And then when I hit 50, I said to myself, I am only going to drive sports cars from now on with the roof off. And so I drive with the roof off as much as I can because I just love it. So,
How's your hair?
well, believe it or not, it doesn't move. Well, I do use hairspray, but it stays in place.
I was thinking about you and Brian being married for such a long time. Are your friends, or have you got really, really old friends?
We do. And we've got wonderful, wonderful friends that we catch up regularly and we have dinner regularly with people and do events. We watch the grand finals together and have parties together, and we host a Connect night every second Wednesday night at our home, and we have lots of people come and we all cook and enjoy, and it's a lot of fun. And we've got friends that I've got a darling friend that I've had ever since I was a baby. Her mum and my mum were best friends, and of course we're still best friends. She's just recently lost her husband, and so we went to Victoria for the funeral. But even though she's in Victoria, we still love each other dearly and connect all the time. So it's really special. So yes, we do have wonderful friends that have been married a long time as well, and connect on that level too.
So you sort of don't see that you're really any different to that girl back in Warragul that loved to invite all the passing strangers in, and whose father is
I
just
think I'm still that person.
that same
Yeah,
person
somebody said
underneath.
to me once, Jacqui, it is good to see that you're still the same person you always were. And I thought, That's good. You never want to lose sight of who you are, where you've been, because that makes up your whole story. And every chapter just knits together. Every step just takes you to the next step.
That's so true. I suspect you'd have a passing interest in the royals, do you?
Oh,
Do you have a favourite?
look, when I remember when Princess Diana met Charles and it was all over the news, I just loved Princess Diana. I was obsessed with her. I watched her wedding. I had pictures. I was married myself with a baby, and I still had her pictures all on the wall. And I think, oh my goodness, Jacqui, you did. And I followed her, and every magazine she was in, I bought. People would give me Diana plates and Diana stuff, and I was just Diana obsessed. And of course, I still remember exactly what I was doing when she died. That was heartbreaking. And I always felt very sad for the way her life turned out. But yeah, I have to say, I still believe she'll always be the princess, the people's princess. And my next favourite's Kate.
She's very thin, though. She's too thin, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to read you this quote before I ask you what's the song that can't keep you off the dance floor. And I don't know whether this is a quote of yours, but it certainly was on your Facebook page. And I thought it was so fitting for you. And it's really, I think, speaking about yours and Brian's marriage. And you said, no matter how you get, no matter how old you get, never stop holding hands, never stop dancing, and never stop saying, I love you.
Very true. Very, very true.
All right. Well, what's that song that you can't stop dancing to?
Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. Every time that comes on, we always get up and have a little dance. Neither of us are real good dancers, but we get up there and we boogie anyway.
And have a go. Well, on that note, Jacqui Walker, I'll say thank you. It has just been such a pleasure getting to know you. And I think if you're half as good a real estate agent as you are a person and a philosophical person with their feet on the ground, I think you'll be stellar. You're wonderful.
Thank you, Megan. It's been a real privilege and a pleasure to chat with you today.
Thank you. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.
You've been listening to a 102.7 FM Toowoomba original podcast. For more podcasts or to listen to live and local Toowoomba radio, please visit 1027.com.au or download the Community Radio Plus app.